Hello and welcome to another edition of AI Impact Talk with me, Tim Bekile Mkhototo. We're continuing to explore the way in which artificial intelligence has affected or continues to develop through various parts of our lives, not just in this country, but right across the world. And today we're joined by an exciting guest with a longish title. His name is Cleshenton Britton. He's the Juniper Networks Channel Manager at Westcon-Comstor Sub-Saharan Africa. And I could expand on that myself, but who better then to tell us more about what the work that comes with that title entails than the man himself, Cleshenton. A very warm welcome to AI Impact Talk.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about your role and what comes with the title Juniper Networks Channel Manager for Westcon-Comstor Sub-Saharan Africa. Sounds like a big deal.
It's a big deal. A long title. A lot of problems with it. Mm-hmm. If I can put it in layman's terms for you, I work for Westcon-Comstor, obviously international distributor. We sell many IT vendors, ranging from security to networking to collaboration. Mm-hmm. I think we're sitting on between 20 to 30 vendors, and I look after one of them. From a sales perspective and from a channel perspective, yes.
At a basic level, what does that entail?
Oh, make the number. Yeah, make the number, basically, yeah.
And when we talk about artificial intelligence, what does it look like in your day-to-day?
Well, I'm mainly on the end where we're selling the solutions. So I'm always interacting with partners to see how AI can benefit their lives, benefit the networking solutions. So it's mainly interacting with partners and trying to get a message across that this is where the world is going, and if you don't play with them, you're gonna fall behind.
And does it mainly work with big corporates, or does it also function at a smaller scale, so to speak?
Okay, we mainly see the drive coming from your big corporations, but there's always a solution for every customer. You know, whether your employee count is 20, whether it's 50, whether it's 200, the solutions range. So it's all about giving the small guys that features that the big guys get also, you know.
And when we think about your work, traditionally, I would have thought of the old school teams of what many of us knew as like the IT people.
IT techies, yes.
And you've written, in fact, recently about that comparison, right? The then and the now.
Yes.
Paint us a picture of what the journey has been like from what many of us knew going into either a school, university, and starting to work maybe 10, 15 years ago to where we are with people like you now.
Well, I think a lot of it was very labor intensive in the past. When you look at your engineers in terms of configuring the kit, etc. So a lot of it has been simplified. And I think gone are the days where networking is just about being connected. Now it's all about the user experience. Are we getting the most out of our network to improve productivity within our employees? Yeah.
And the way in which you do networking now, is it different or is it just simplified?
I think it's different because cloud has come into play. So a lot of the solutions are cloud-based now. We see an increase in customers wanting to pay for what they use. So gone are the days where you purchase an entire solution for 200 users and it sits in some cabinet somewhere and gets utilized. People now want to pay for what they use and they want to scale. You know, if I have 15 employees today, I'd like a solution that caters for them. And if I have 30 tomorrow, I'd like a solution that caters for them. So definitely very simplified. And I think cloud is also playing a big factor in terms of you hardly see any hardware nowadays.
Right.
If something can be done in the cloud, if something can be software-based, why not?
I mean, we've gone from manual record keeping. I remember as a youngster watching how my cousins would store information all the way down to the memory stick. But yours is at a grander scale from what we do on the personal. So with everything that's now happened, especially with the introduction of cloud, has it made it easier to do what you do?
I think so. I think it definitely has made it easier. Look, we have a lot of tools. When cloud came into play and when all these platforms came into play, I think a lot of tools came into play as well to make people's lives very easy. So I think that's basically what networking should do. That's what technology should do. It needs to make your life easier. And I think AI is playing a key factor in that.
And how is it shaping overall business and how business operates in the modern day?
Well, we see a high demand from end customers requesting certain types of technology and also looking to leverage technology to make their lives easier. And obviously, I won't touch on reducing employee count, etc. But I mean, if the system can, or if AI, for example, can do 50% of your job for you, why not?
And what sort of tech are companies looking for most when they come to you?
No, it's usually networking solutions. So we usually touch on Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is a key factor today, and the analytics and the insights you can get behind your Wi-Fi is just incredible. From a security perspective, I think, as technology improves, so does hackers. So does people in the back end trying to access your network and get information. So I think from a security perspective, it's definitely increased. And yeah.
Are you guys the hackers?
On the weekends.
And how do you begin to get the trust, in fact, of your big corporate clients that what you offer is, in fact, the safest alternative? Because there's so much sensitivity around the work that they do. I mean, even at a very basic level now, even in South Africa, there's legislation about sharing just my personal information. I can't imagine what it's like when maybe you're a bank, for instance, or another large company.
Well, look, the information will always stay in-house. I just think it's the analytics you get behind that's very positive. Because in today's time, we're able to pull so much analytics and so much data through the, let's say, networking infrastructure we have at the moment that we just couldn't do before. So to these large corporations, if I can promise to make your life easier and I can show you that I can, I mean, why not?
I mean, I'd made some notes earlier in preparation for this conversation, and I was looking at some of the articles talking about self-detecting, self-healing, self-configuration. Is that a good thing? Do we want networks that rely so much on themselves, essentially?
I think it's a very good thing personally. When, as humans, we make errors. As humans, we make errors. And if the system can do, let's say, 70% of the job for you, 100% of the time it's going to do the job 100%. So a human intervention will always be required. But when we talk about things like self-healing networks, I mean, how many times do you experience issues when connecting to Wi-Fi? How many times do you experience issues on your local network? If the network can solve that problems for you, how much easier will it be for employees, for users to do their job?
And speaking of employees doing their jobs, I mean, your focus is on Sub-Saharan Africa.
Yes, correct.
I wonder about the availability of skilled people to do the sort of work that you do. Do you find it easy to recruit?
Well, look, as a distributor, we work through a partner that sells to an end customer. So we hardly touch base with end customers. So we usually work through a partner that is skilled. And I can tell you there are a lot of skilled partners within South Africa that are pushing this narrative.
And are we head and shoulders among the best who are doing this, or are we still lagging behind? Because we sometimes underestimate ourselves, I think, in South Africa, just in terms of what we can do on a competitive stage.
Look, I definitely think we're getting there. Let me put it like that. We have a lot of skilled people, and this is not also something that has been introduced last year or year before. This is something that's been ongoing. If I can talk about Juniper as an example, they've incorporated AI into their networking platform 9 years ago. So it's been an ongoing journey.
So Cleshenton, talk to me about Africa, because you have, as I was saying, you have a sub-Saharan focus, right?
Yes.
How well is the region doing in terms of incorporating AI into the way in which we do business in Africa?
Well, according to IDC, 35% of South African organizations have already been incorporating AI into the networking solutions, and I think that's a very good percent. And I think there's always a time where you need to adopt and incorporate something, and I think as South Africans, as Africans in general, we've done a fantastic job.
And how do we keep up? I ask this question a lot then, making sure that we don't fall too far behind. I mean, 35%, promising number, but there's still so much work to be done.
I think it's very important to manage the trends and to also see what our counterparts in Europe are doing and if we can replicate it within the country. A lot of the times, systems are put into place and solutions are put into place globally, and they just expect Africa to just come and just accept it and adapt to it. And it's never the case. Every market is specific and every market has their variety of needs and wants. So I'm not saying let's incorporate everything Europe is doing or America is doing and just think it's going to work for Africa, because that's never going to be the case. We need a tailor-made solution. We face many challenges that corporates in America and in Europe just don't. So there's going to have to be a specific touch there for a tailor-made solution in South Africa. But I think the main thing is our partners addressing it with their customers.
And do we do well I mean, as South Africans, as Africans more broadly, in terms of adaptation, tailor-making solutions to our African problems?
I think for the guys that know, they do very well. And for the guys that don't, they just don't. So I think it's very important to educate partners, and that's where I come in as a distributor, or that's where the partner can come in for the end customer. The educational aspect needs to be there. Like I say, if you don't know, you won't ask.
And when they do come to you, for instance, the companies, and they say to you, Cleshenton, please help us. We're trying to improve the way in which our networking operates, or in fact, give a system from scratch, because some people just don't have any real system in place. What are the go-to things that you come in and focus on before you even introduce a system?
A solution. Understanding the customer environment, understanding their pain points, and obviously providing a solution to meet that needs, and try to determine where the organization sees themselves in the next 5 years or 10 years. You can look at employee count, you can look at it from a revenue perspective, what they'd like to achieve, and what are they doing to ensure that they meet those goals.
And they concern the companies a lot of time about the bottom line, because no one wants to spend a lot of
100%.
money. Can they spend, a conservative budget, let's say, for the sort of services you do, or is it all expensive?
Well, I wouldn't relatively say it's expensive, and it's also always dependent on the customer budget. But the way the market is moving in the IT space, AI aside, we see a lot of customers wanting to pay based on consumption. We see a lot of customers wanting to pay for some things monthly. So instead of, let's say, forking out all that cash up front, you pay for your services on a monthly basis. So that improves things like cash flow, etc.
And flexibility is what the modern day business
100%.
wants. We saw it. The most recent example is how during the pandemic, people just had to make certain things work, even from a security level. We were all now on a laptop from our home or whatever. And that brought about unique challenges. How flexible, adaptable is the technology around networking to the changing world of work?
So I think that plays a big part in software and security. Obviously, if you have a employee working at home and they're accessing very sensitive data, you'd want to make sure it's secure. That's the first thing you'd want to make sure. So I think it's definitely a catch-22 situation, but I think overall the impacts are tremendous.
And what excites you the most right now in the space? When you look at the work that you do, what do you go, damn, that's good?
And it always excites me to see a customer getting what they expected and coming to you and saying, you know what, you provided the solution. I was a bit sketchy about it, but you know, it's doing tremendous things for my business. I've seen an increase in productivity, etc. So my biggest taking point, or my point of happiness when it comes to providing these solutions, is seeing the customers get what they paid for.
And opportunities, what is available now in terms of opportunities that have been opened up by the sort of tech that you rely on, either for you as a company or more broadly within the business space?
Okay, I think the opportunity is everywhere. Africa is always, let's use the word, a little bit behind. And a lot of the corporates and a lot of the organizations are using kit that doesn't really have that AI component. And there's always opportunity. So for any customer who's, let's say, using legacy kit, for an example, or trying to get the most out of their network and they can't, there's opportunity there, you know?
And where to next? Where do you see networking going? How do you see the space evolving?
I definitely think we've been trying to migrate customers to cloud. I definitely think that push is coming, especially from a cash flow perspective. And when we come to AI, I definitely think it will enable organizations to really get the most out of their data.
And getting the most out of their data, what does that mean in real terms?
Well, you know, data is everywhere within the network, and I'll give you a typical example. There was a coffee shop that we did a nice POC for, and they had customers that came in and connected to the Wi-Fi off the get-go. Now, it doesn't ask you for a password, but it just asks you a couple of key questions to understand the customer a bit more. So you'll go in there, you'll buy your coffee, and you'll leave. The next time you go in, when you enter the vicinity of the premises, you'll already get a message to say, "Hi, nice to have you back. This is our specials today." So I think it's enabling, let's call it, companies to be more engaging with their customers and also get the most out of their customers.
A personal experience, right?
100%.
That's what users want.
100%.
That, okay, I no longer speak to Cleshenton, who may be in a call center or at a help desk, but even on the app, I would like it to feel as though a previous
catered
guest
for me.
A previous guest said you almost wanted to feel as though it's a concierge thing,
Yes, 100%.
tailored to your needs.
100%, yes.
And in that experience, which sectors do you, or would you say, in terms of your client base, are adapting the best to what is needed?
I'd say the banking industry, definitely. And surprisingly, the educational sector. We see a lot of requests trying to make their students' life easier, via networking and obviously via AI. So I definitely say the educational sector is there, the banking sector is there, and the healthcare sector is closing in. If I can just maybe touch base on the healthcare sector, I mean, we had an opportunity that we were presenting for one of the hospitals that kept on losing their medical equipment, things like wheelchairs, etc.
Just disappearing. So what we did is we actually provided an indoor location service there using asset tracking. So let's say, for example, you have a wheelchair, you'll put an asset tag on it, and let's say it's only supposed to be in Ward 3, for example. If that goes to Ward 4, the IT guys get a message, the security guys get a message, say, this piece of equipment is only supposed to be in this area, it's going here. Someone needs to check what's happening. So like Find My Phone.
Like basically like Find My Phone.
Hospital
equipment. And I don't know what was the exact number of equipment that was lost, and obviously what was the money they were losing as an organization. But putting a small change into that, I can't tell you how much money they're saving, but I can tell you it's a lot.
And I'm sure they rewarded you generously for your contribution.
You can say that.
And I like that very practical example, because people think that often it's in grand
they do.
sort of plans. But in the everyday life, there are solutions that people like you can implement to make things run better.
To make things run better and to make people's lives easier. I'll always say technology is here to make people's lives easier.
Should we be afraid? Because a lot of us are afraid of it. Technology, that is.
Whether you're afraid or not, it's going to happen. But I don't think there's any room for fear. Human intervention will always be needed, especially from a networking perspective. If we can touch on the topics that you mentioned, like self-healing networks. In the Juniper solutions we provide, if I can just touch on that, when there are issues within the network, 80 to 90% of the time, the system can sort itself out. The system can solve the issue. But let's use a hypothetical example where there's maybe a bad cable somewhere. AI can't magically plug that cable out of that switch and replace it for you. So human intervention will always be needed. I just think it's an opportunity for companies to use the technology and the data to get more from their employees, to get more from their customers, and to obviously be more productive as a business.
So, for example, the example you used with the hospital, it was around theft, right? And with systems, the main concern, not the main, but one of the important concerns is often around manipulation. Yes, there's less human interference, but can we protect them foolproof in terms of networking from disruption, interference, manipulation by people?
Look here, it's in black and white on the system, but AI can only do what you let it. If you only wanted to touch a specific portion of, let's say, your network, it will only do so. So it's how much you want to get AI involved into your business. If you choose to, let's say for hypothetical reasons, the finance department, the information is very sensitive. If we'd like AI to grab hold of the business from a data perspective on all the other, let's call it departments except finance, we can do that. So it's all dependent on how much you want to involve AI into your solution. And I'll say that.
I'm going to give you, as we conclude, then an opportunity to speak to the business people who are not in your space, who are going to watch this. Convince them as to why a service like yours is so crucial to their businesses. Why should they come to people like you for help?
I think it's important because most of these customers don't really understand the network and they don't know what they can get out of it. Gone are the days when networking is the guy connected? Or do you have internet? That's it. Now, like I said, we focus on the user experience. So how happy are you on the network? How many times did it take you to log into your portal or etc.? I mean, if let's say you're having a Teams meeting, for example, with a client and you're trying to close a deal and the video call just keeps on dropping, you're not going to get anything done. So I think it's important to bring the right people into the conversations, and also the trust needs to be there. The trust needs to be there. Like I said, I work for a distributor, so we usually work through partners. If the partner doesn't trust me to talk to the end customer, I will never get an opportunity. So I think it's very important to bring the right people to have that discussions, because most of the time, if you're not educated on a certain topic, you won't feel comfortable to address it.
Cleshenton, good to speak to you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Cleshenton Britton. And thank you for watching another edition of AI Impact Talk with me, Tim Begile Mkhototo. I hope this conversation has been as insightful for you as it has been for me. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.